Hey guys, happy Thursday morning. Um, Today we are going to we're going to finish our conversation the other day on looking at ethos, pathos, and logos. Today is going to be about how do we write about these three classical appeals. Um, so when we're thinking about writing about ethos, pathos, and logos, it's similar to tone. We don't want to say that every author well, don't want to say that an author has tone because, of course, they have a tone. All authors, all writers have tone when they write. In the same way that we don't want to say that all authors use ethos, pathos, and logos because that's true. We want to identify like what are they doing with that appeal? Why are they appealing to someone's sense of patriotism? What's the effect of that, and why would they do that? So when we're looking at ethos, pathos, and logos, we want to do something. We want to do it similarly. And this goes back to when we talked about the command and conquer strategy for the rhetorical analysis. Authors do X in order to Y because of Z. Or in other words, Martin Luther King Jr. is urgent about the need for justice in order to, or Martin Luther King Jr. repeats banking imagery in order to communicate the need for justice because he feels justice cannot wait. Right? That's an analytical statement that would need to be proven, and we would talk about pathos within that. He's appealing to that sense of urgency by repeating the word now, or he repeats the word now in order to appeal to the emotional necessity for justice. That's how we would talk about it. So there's going to be a couple things I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to look at half of a PowerPoint on using ethos, pathos, and logos. I'm going to give you some sentence stems. We're going to look at the speech again to try and craft some of those sentences together. Okay. The reason why we're only looking at half of this is because we're going to talk about thesis statements in a little bit, but I want us to look at some other things first. I can find it. Okay, here it is. All right, so common mistakes when authors, when people write about ethos, pathos, and logos, we might say something like, the writer uses logos to, the writer uses pathos to, the writer uses ethos to. The writer uses logos, ethos, and pathos too. What this does is, yeah, it's technically true. The author is using pathos, but we're lacking something. We're lacking something inside of that. We're also lacking like the specificity. What sense of logos? How are they using their argument? How is the argument organized for them? And why are they doing that? So when we think about this, we want to kind of move past it, just about talking about or writing about logos, pathos, and ethos in this way. So how do we fix this mistake? I see this all the time, and it just has to be like an extra thought while you're writing to finish it. But the sooner that we kind of bridge that gap, the better it's going to be for us. So how do we fix this? Well, we want to look at what the author is doing, right? Why are they making this choice? How are they using an argument? How are they appealing to emotions? And then how are they establishing their credibility? And so this takes us to some effects. What are the effects of, or what is an author hoping the effect is going to be for pathos or the use of repetition? What are they aiming towards? So there's some good sentences that show us what this might look like. The author's use of personal anecdote underscored by the use of sentimental words pulls the heartstrings and elicits sympathy. So if we look at that pathos, there's a couple things, that example of that statement using pathos. Notice how that word isn't in there at all. Instead, we have the two emotions, right? Pulls at the heartstrings and elicits sympathy. But we also have the choice in there. The author uses a personal anecdote. That's the choice that the author uses. And that leads us towards pathos. So we're looking at choices and effects. What choice is the author making when they're writing, and what's the effect of it? So we have some good choices to help us look at to kind of achieve this effect, these rhetorical choices, anecdotes. short sentences that are used to elicit appeal. There's some emotion, some ethos, pathos, and logos, examples of what that does. Juxtaposition, this is a powerful one that we can do to look at how things are immediately contrasted together. There's a juxtaposition in the first two paragraphs of King's speech where he says the Bank of Justice, we've been promised something, but we know the Bank of Justice is not bankrupt. This appeal is an emotional appeal that wants us to feel something. He's making that juxtaposition choice, and the effect is pretty cool. Allusions and references, and then word choice. When we talk about word choice, we don't want to say the author uses diction. Yes, it's true. All authors use diction, but we want to look at why are these particular words meaningful? Why choose those words? So in King's speech, why is he choosing to use banking imagery, and what does that do? Okay, so we want to talk about choices and effects. Choices and effects. So here's a deeper list of choices that lead us towards the overall effects. What is it going to do? Okay, I dropped this in the Google Slides, and these are some sentence starters to help us write about ethos, pathos, and logos. I want us to put to rest, put to death already, simply saying the author uses ethos. And there's some good things in here that are pretty cool, some good sentences that will help guide you. Okay. So if we go back to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, there's all our annotations from the other day. And we could probably pull some of these together to write some sentences for us to look at the appeal. I crafted our first sentence. What rhetorical choices does King use to convey the severity of discrimination in the 20th century? There's typos in there, but what are you going to do? So what do you think are some things that we can do to change this? How can we craft a sentence? Let's think about pathos. So I'm going to pull up this document. Okay, I found a good one. The use of banking imagery lends the text a sense of what? It could lend it a sense of it probably lends a sense of the loss of something promised and guaranteed. And if we were to go further in that, we would identify some of those words. We say he chooses promissory notes in order to have that sense of being promised something and that promise not being fulfilled. So to wrap it all up, when we write about ethos, pathos, and logos, we don't want to just say the author uses ethos, the author uses pathos, the author uses logos. Instead, we want to be a little more specific. What's their choice that they're doing, and what's the effect of that? And that's going to show us those appeals. Today, go back to that worksheet that you did yesterday, and look to see how you're writing about the introduction to King's letter from Birmingham jail. Make sure that you are looking past the use of that ethos, pathos, and logos. And that's all I have for you guys. As always, happy reading.